And what a weekend it was, from one loss to another. But hey, we pick up ourselves and we continue with the journey until we get to that dream destination. Nigerians may have been denied the chance to make history yet again by lifting that trophy, but we haven't been denied our pride, we haven't been denied our dignity, we certainly haven't been denied our place and our claim to being African football giants. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka and we're gingered yet again, here to ginger you to begin the week on a bright note. Jeffrey Coyote.
Well, it's a beautiful morning. That's all I would say. Just how are you hanging in? That's the first question I wanted to ask you. How are you hanging in? It's been quite an eventful weekend. My responsibility, as I've always said, is to make sure we make you have a beautiful week ahead of you. And today is already Monday, and I know that the loss was quite painful. We're that close to lifting that trophy.
Very
but
close.
Hey, it didn't happen. But like they say in football, anything can happen. So let's just chill, let's just relax, and have the best of time. I know a lot of people have said a lot of things. We're going to be exploring that conversation later on in the show. But welcome and welcome and welcome. I'm Jeffrey Uzama.
I'm really trying my best. I tried to sneak up a smile on my face, but it wasn't working. It wasn't working. What a weekend it was, absolutely. But it's a new week, a new chance to make something out of it. So welcome to the show. I'm Coyote Okikili.
And Coyote, we didn't get the memo. We could have turned up in solidarity yet again.
You know how it happens, right? You've already planned your week ahead. So I planned that on Monday. This is what I'll wear. This is what I'll wear on Tuesday, and the rest. So I couldn't help it. And when you make that little change, it might just affect the mentality. So I just picked it, and I wore it. Win or lose, we're Nigerians, guys. Whatever the case is, we're Nigerians, and go Nigeria, ultimately. A
good way to deal with the disappointing defeat.
Yeah. Football is a very emotional game, and we saw how emotional football can get at the semi-finals. We had losses. That's how deep and involved emotionally people can get. So we must understand all of this, because a lot of things that we have as a challenge, when we see our boys on the field or play, we kind of forget all about that for a moment to just, enjoy, savor the excitement of that moment. That national pride comes alive where we sing the national anthem with so much relish and all of that. But sometimes it doesn't work out and play out the way it should play out. But I want to tell Nigerians, it's going to get better. The boys did their bit. We wish it would have gone our way at the end of the day, but hey, it happened the way it did. So hey, Coyote, just chill. We just have to help the people rise above the challenges they are facing. Remember, there are challenges at home. We're dealing with issues on the economy. We're dealing with security issues and all of that. And then this has now added to make it a bit more convoluted. But I trust Nigerians will look for a way. And congratulations to Ghana, South Africa, and Cameroon, who are wishing us bad in terms of this football.
You had to go there.
Yeah, I had to go there because I was planning them, actually, because now they are, in fact, what is going on online now is the fact that some of them are not speaking French, so some of us would understand French to get to know what you're saying.
Which is good.
But we'll come back. We'll come back. We'll come back. Don't worry. We'll come back. Never to worry.
Indeed. Well, I'd like to just say thank you to the Super Eagles.
Absolutely.
They did us proud through all of the matches. Yesterday's could have been, played with better vigor, better strength and agility and more involvement. But we're grateful to the Super Eagles for representing us well. They played with the true Nigerian spirit through much of the matches, spirit of sportsmanship, determination, resolve to make Nigerian proud. And that's what I pretty much saw in most of the matches that the Super Eagles played in this AFCON tournament. For Ghana, South Africa, and Ghana, South Africa, and Cameroon, Nigeria will bounce back again in 2025. You can count on that.
Enjoy, just relish the moment. Bukola, what do we have up our sleeve today?
Yes, indeed, we have a whole lot on our lineup for you. Côte d'Ivoire, of course, is king of African football. It was a fairy tale win for the Elephants of Côte d'Ivoire, but a disappointing defeat for the Super Eagles of Nigeria as we lost 2-1 at the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations in Cote d'Ivoire. A header from captain William Troost Ekong put the Super Eagles in the lead in the first half, but the Elephants made a surprising comeback in the second half to push past the Super Eagles defense with 2 goals, which ensured that the host nations are crowned king of African football. So what's next for the Super Eagles of Nigeria? And head coach of the Super Eagles, Joseph Pesero, will be having that conversation on the program this morning.
Well, football is not just the only conversation on the AFCON. We will be talking security. Drop your weapons or be killed. No third option for terrorists, bandits, and kidnappers terrorizing Nigerians. That warning came from the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, during a bi-weekly news briefing on the operations of the armed forces. But how much of this is a deterrent to the insurgents who are unleashing terror on innocent Nigerians? Security is on the front burner again today as we review the strategy of the managers of the sector, on-site and off-site.
Absolutely, but that's not all. Now, behind every dark cloud lies a silver lining, they say, and this is true for a handful of Nigerian youths, including a young actor and TV host who has made, we can call lemonade out of life's few lemons. So how can young Nigerians make the most of the opportunities accompanying reality TV shows, and really, is it for everyone? Well, some of the candid questions coming up for one of your favorite influencers in the social media space on the show this morning.
And of course, what's this without your comments and contributions on the program? Of course, we're looking forward to some of your reactions to that disappointing defeat. Of course, with a view to encouraging you to encourage the Super Eagles, particularly at this point in time. So keep them coming. Hashtag CTV Morning Brief on X. That's the place to get your comments through. Of course, you can also post comments on our Facebook page and our Instagram page as well. Just make it hashtag CTV Morning Brief. We'll also be willing to take all of your compelling videos from scene of major events. We'll authenticate them and amplify your voices on the program today. So keep them coming. Hashtag CTV Morning Brief. Your perfect day starter is unfolding. We'll take a moment now and it'll be time for your top stories on the Morning Brief. Stay with us. Welcome back. Time now for your top stories on the Morning Brief. It was a sad weekend for Nigerians and the corporate world following the painful exit of the Group Chief Executive Officer of Access Holdings PLC, Mr. Herbert Wigwe, his wife Doreen, his son Chizi, and a former group chairman of the Nigeria Exchange Group, Abimbola Ogunbanjo, now confirmed by the management of Access Bank. They lost their lives in a helicopter crash near a small town in California's Mojave Desert. The confirmation is contained in a statement by the company's group secretary, Sunday Ekochi, which reads in part, "It is with deep sadness that the board of directors of Access Holdings PLC announces the passing of Dr. Herbert Wigwe, CFR, the company's founding group chief executive officer and former group managing director of its flagship subsidiary, Access Bank PLC. Dr. Wigwe died alongside his wife and son on Friday, February 9, 2024, in a helicopter accident in the United States of America. The statement further reads, Dr. Wigwe was a key driving force and a larger-than-life personality who brought his remarkable passion, energy, and experience to the transformation of the Access franchise since joining the bank in 2002. And in the meantime, may his soul rest in peace. But in the meantime, the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, has attributed the crash to poor weather. The NTSB provided further details on the incident during a press briefing in Barstow, California. The NTSB board member, Mr. Michael Graham, says although a detailed report is still being expected, rainy and wintry weather may have contributed to the crash. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has described the death of Herbert Wigwe and Abimbola Ogunbanjo as an overwhelming tragedy that is shocking beyond comprehension. A statement by presidential spokesperson Ajuri Ngelale says President Tinubu mourns these exceptional Nigerian business leaders. The president is also condoling with the Wigwe and Ogunbanjo families, the business community, and all those impacted by this harrowing incident. President Tinubu also prayed for the peaceful repose of the departed and asked God Almighty to comfort the multitude of Nigerians who are grieving and the families of the deceased. And of course, tributes have been pouring in from all over the world following the passing of the group CEO of Access Holdings, Herbert Wigwe, and the former group chairman of the Nigeria Exchange Group, Abimbola Ogunbanjo. From the French President Emmanuel Macron to the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, state governors, presidential candidates, and business moguls, it's been an outpouring of shock and grief over the death of the two business tycoons. And away from that tragedy now, it's more spiritual than physical. That's the reasoning of the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor Enoch Adeboye, on Nigeria's security and socioeconomic issues. The cleric expressed his views during a visit to Governor Obasani of Kaduna State at the Sir Kashim Ibrahim Government House.
We are blessed with people with great intelligence. We are blessed with all manners of resources, and yet we have so many problems. And it's not as if the people in authority are not trying their best. They are doing as much as humanly possible. And I will find that when you have problems that are beyond human's ability to solve, then you call on the Almighty. The reason we call him the Almighty is because he has the power to solve all problems.
Many Nigerians are losing hope, and they are also being very cautious about the future. But like I said in my own conversation with you before this meeting, that we are going through difficulties because of what happened in the past. And right now, we have a president who is determined, focused, and who is ready to take our country to the higher height.
And as Nigerians continue to lament the impact of high cost of living, Primate of the All Nigeria Anglican Communion and Bishop of Abuja, Most Reverend Henry Ndukuba, is calling on the federal government to address issues of corruption in the country as he urges Nigerians to have faith in God and be hopeful of a better tomorrow. Speaking in Abuja on the State of the Nation after an episcopal visit to the Anglican Church Life Camp Abuja, Reverend Ndukuba admits that Nigeria and Nigerians are going through challenges, but believes that these challenges can be solved.
Why will it not get to the ordinary man? It is corruption. Why will people take interest in the suffering of the masses? It is corruption. And I think that our leaders need to know that the cry of the common man reaches to heaven. God is listening. And at a time like this, there is need for sacrifice, both on the side of the citizens and as well as the leadership. Our people have sacrificed enough. We have suffered enough. What we are calling for now is that the presidency, the legislature, and other organs of the government should cut down and should offer some respite and not only making good use of the resources that we have, but fighting this monster that is called corruption. And also making sure that whatever is recovered is properly and judiciously engaged and employed.
And now to security. Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja is urging troops of the Nigerian Army that their operations against insurgents and bandits in theaters of operation must be guided by the Armed Forces Act and rules of engagement. General Lagbaja was speaking during the Leadership and Regimentation Course graduation of 180 officers of the Nigerian Defense Academy at the 20 Model Battalion in Gashaka local government area of Taraba State. And more wins were recorded in the fight against drug trafficking at the weekend as 24 suspected drug traffickers and dealers, including a 42-year-old supplier of illicit drugs to insurgents in Banki, a border region between Nigeria and Cameroon area of Borno State, have been arrested by operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA. Ahmed Mohammed was arrested on Friday, 9th of February, at the Bama checkpoint while on his way to the border town to deliver 20,000 capsules of tramadol found in his luggage. In Anambra State, a 6-month pregnant woman, Amarachi Akolisa, and another lady, Ifoma Ihai, were among 6 suspects arrested for dealing in illicit substances. And time now for some business. It's a homecoming of sorts for Nigerian-born UK Minister for Business and Trade, Kemi Badenoch, who has arrived the country for a 3-day visit to Nigeria. Ms. Badenoch's visit, which comes on the heels of the visit of former Foreign Secretary James Cleverly in August last year, aims to boost UK-Nigeria trade relations and unlock new investment opportunities. During her visit, she and the Prime Minister's trade envoy to Nigeria, Helen Grant, will meet with the federal government and state governors, as well as British and Nigerian investors, leaders, and captains of industry. And on the foreign scene, 3 people were killed in clashes over Senegal poll postponement. Violent protests in Senegal against the postponement of the presidential elections have spread across the country, with the first fatality reported. A student died in clashes with police on Friday in the northern city of St. Louis, an opposition leader and a local hospital source said. In the capital, Dakar, security forces fired tear gas to disperse the crowds. The 25 February elections were delayed until December the 15th, with President Macky Sall denying clinging on to power. And finally, Ivory Coast has halted Nigeria's Super Eagles' flight to winning the AFCON trophy. The impressive Nigerian side lost 1-2 to the host nation, Ivory Coast, in a thrilling Africa Cup of Nations final match at the Alassane Ouattara Olympic Stadium in Ebimpe, Abidjan on Sunday. The Eagles captain William Troost-Ekong put Nigeria in the lead in the first half, but the Elephants came into the second half with an equalizer by Frank Kessie and another goal by Sebastian Holler. And congratulations to the Elephants of Cote d'Ivoire. And Nigerians have eaten the humble pie, but of course we're chewing on what's left and celebrating still as much as we can. As Jeffrey joins me now to look at some of your reactions to that match and of course to other stories.
Well, there's a lot of people.
How are you hanging in?
Yeah, I'm hanging in. It's football. If you're used to the game, it's 50-50. Anything can happen. Everybody brought their A game, and the better side won at the end of the day. So the truth is that, as we said, it's an emotional game. Everybody is emotionally invested. The president, the governors, citizens, everybody was watching and hopeful, especially when we're in the lead. And we cannot be worried because Cote d'Ivoire demonstrated that they can come back to win this at the end of the day. And they did it again. These were guys that were literally out of the tournament, sacked their coach and the assistant coach and finally took over. So congratulations to all of them. But that's not all people are saying on X. So maybe we'll jump into other things that people are saying. And
first of all, before we look at the reactions to the AFCON.
Yes, maybe we'll look at other things first before we look at that reaction, because people are saying a lot about AFCON. So we also had the news, which is why we say it was a big loss for the weekend due to the fact that the CEO of Access Holdings, Herbert Wigwe, died in that plane crash. His wife, his son, and the NGX, former NGX boss and all of that. So it was a big loss for the corporate world in Nigeria. And some of you have been speaking, including people in government and people in the private sector. This is coming from Access Bank that actually give out this tweet, or put up this tweet. Today we bid farewell to a visionary leader, Herbert Wigwe, whose passion and unwavering commitment to excellence transformed Access into a global powerhouse. His legacy of excellence and passion will continue to inspire us all. Rest in peace, Herbert Wigwe. Your impact will forever be felt.
Indeed, and when that news first broke over the weekend, we were hoping that it would not be confirmed.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, the confirmation came both from the U.S. agency and Access Bank itself. This one is from Unwa Fresh, and they say Herbert Wigwe has played his part on earth and his own chapter is closed. We can only honor his legacy, but the world will continue without him. And that's a lesson to those of us who feel like we own tomorrow. R.I.P. Herbert. Indeed, may his soul rest in peace.
All right, our thoughts and our prayers are with the families at this very particular point in time. Kennedy Wandera, a visionary leader, has left the stage. Nigeria has lost a magnet.
A really sad one, and he had to go with a wife and a son. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Wigwe family at this time. May God grant them the fortitude to bear this irreparable loss. This one is from Daddy Mo, and he says, a very sad day for the Nigerian banking sector and Nigeria as a whole, a tragedy that has shocked the nation. Rest in peace, Mr. Herbert Wigwe and Mrs. Chizoba Wigwe, and all those who lost their lives in this unfortunate tragedy.
And it's coming from, I think, Governor Sheyi Makinde. It says, the depth of sadness of this tragedy has brought cannot be fully expressed in words. Exactly. You were a quintessential gentleman, an astute businessman who strongly believed in the growth and development of our people. Rest in peace, Herbert, and may God Almighty give the surviving members of the families of all those who lost loved ones in the crash and the rest of us the strength to bear this very colossal loss.
And David Brown is also speaking about the death of this business icon, and he says, truly tragic. I was hoping it wasn't true, as the rest of us. A corporate re-engineering servant, I believe, and an exceptionally hard worker. The country has lost another gem. May his soul, that of his son and wife and all those on board, rest in peace.
It's quite sad, and this is a long one. Okay, let's go to the president of the African Development Bank. He also posted on X. He said, I'm saddened by the tragic death of Herbert Wigwe, CEO and co-founder of Access Bank. His son, his wife, he was a visionary and brilliant banker. May God comfort your aged parents, children, the Wigwe family, the staff and management of Access Bank. You will be greatly missed. I remember that when we were doing the broadcast organization induction here, I had the opportunity to meet his father, and when this happened, I was just imagining what would be going through the mind of the father of Herbert Wigwe and the mother as well. So this is a very difficult time to have father, a son, daughter-in-law, and grandchild all go in one fell swoop. It's a difficult time, but as we say, our thoughts and our prayers are with the Wigwe family and every other person who lost their lives in that particular crash. We're waiting for the final or comprehensive report as to what actually happened. We don't have that yet. We're waiting on the U.S. government. Let's now go to other things you're talking about. Yes,
indeed. Up next on the turf from your comments is minimum wage, the subject about minimum wage. And Azubike Oshumili is saying minimum wage committee going for maximum enjoyment. I guess this trails concerns about the approval of 500 million naira for the committee that has been set up to look into the review of the minimum wage.
Yes, exactly. And in fact, what actually we understand that the initial memo was requesting for 1 billion, according to what we heard in the report. Then it was 500 million naira that was approved, which is the basis for that comment. Dr. Tosin Harriman says, if this letter truly emanated from the presidency, then official, Herbert, NGR President, Nigeria Gov, that's the presidency, and Femi Gbajabiamila, which is Femi Gbaja, need to quickly query the secretary to the government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, and immediately reject the route through which classified and critical emails are dispensed. And so this is crazy.
As a matter of fact, we hear that that amount, 1 billion, was initially scaled down from 1.8 billion, but the presidency only approved 500 million.
Maybe we need to hear exactly what those monies are meant for.
We need clarification from the presidency on that fund. This one is coming from Johnson. He says, for George Akume-led minimum wage tripartite committee to have requested 1 billion naira just to have meeting and propose a national minimum wage, the request must have been padded heavily with corruption. Therefore, Nigerians must call for resignation of his position as SGF.
All right, we have a lot you've been talking about. This is concerning the release for the minimum wage committee. We also have the other one that is getting reaction across the social media, which is a statement by the Chief of Staff to the President, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, who was a former speaker, talking about the social media that needs to be regulated. And of course, people are not, some people are not comfortable with that. Others may support, others are against. This is coming from San Nihal Savda. He said, is he terrified of being exposed here? Make him calm down. Let him calm down. What actually matters is not what is on social media, but what the government will never address. The country is still going through some major issues, and him talking about social media, does it really make sense? That's a question that Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila will respond to.
Well, a valid question at that. Dr. Bello Ankar says, the menace is the people you led that are trying to regulate the social media. The menace is the corruption that is ongoing that has crippled our nation. If we didn't have that menace, a lot of the toxicity on social media would disappear.
And this is coming from Lasbon. He said Lasbon 07. This is in support of it. The regulation is really necessary, 100%. That's coming from Lasbon.
And this one is from One Useful Guy. And he says, why not push for menace in governance instead, or maybe menace NG leadership, which are not going to be left out? How do you explain the current situation where you have hardship in every corner of the country? Go back home with this thought. Bad leaders believe their team works for them. That's from One Useful Guy.
I want to run it through as much as possible. Ifeanyi Madumere says, this same Femi or another one is curious to know exactly, because some people have argued that the leadership of the APC came on the back of the advocacy from the social media. And they were a big beneficiary of the social media drive and campaigns to be able to unseat an incumbent president. So seeing some of them pushing for the regulation of the social media. Some are not quite happy with this, but it's a conversation for this or that or the other. But let's move on to the big one that happened just last night, which is the loss of Nigeria at the Africa Cup of Nations. We're trying to just ginger ourselves, as I say in Nigeria, because it's a tough one. We're quite hopeful. Looking at how we fought hard to get to the finals, and when we played in the semi-finals against South Africa, we're quite hopeful that we'll win. But hey, in football, anything is possible. And it happened yesterday that the Elephants of Cote d'Ivoire were able to be the big elephants in the room, and they emerged victorious 2-1.
They took all the space.
2-1 at the end of stoppage time, and we're here. So let's find out what you're saying. Rhyme says, as man, you don't win today. I said, okay, as man, you don't win today. As I be saying now, waiting go sub this, sub be this. This pigeon is strong one, man. I don't even know what I can interpret that.
And if anybody could have understood it, it would have been you, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
But you're unable to decode it. Yeah. So perhaps Akiade LSR 10275 should recraft. Yeah. Maybe we'll be able to understand it.
I didn't watch the Man U match. I didn't even know they were playing. I was interested in what was happening in Cote d'Ivoire and Abidjan, perhaps. He was hopeful that Nigeria would do this. Bukola.
This one is from dreambrand.eth, and they say, we not even come to win safe. We came to just beat South Africa and show Ghana we are better than them. Hashtag AFCON final. No be say we won't win their plastic cups.
I remember.
Sounds like a broken man.
Yeah, I think it was one of the players that said the trophy is not even fine. So, well, no matter how ugly or beautiful it is, we just wanted the trophy.
We just wanted to bring that trophy home.
That's our business.
And take that trophy on a tour.
Yeah, Titus Adeokun says the trophy fine or no fine. We lost, and give kudos to the guys for making us proud. Niger for life, absolutely.
And Cake
we'll
Lover,
support them.
Cake Lover also has a very short comment here. They say, very good refs. I hope they get better opportunities after this because they did great. Thank you for that positive comment. Hashtag AFCON 2023, hashtag AFCON final.
There's a lot still on the AFCON. Aldo Trapani says, as a Ghanaian, I sympathize with Nigeria. They thought they were the Super Eagles, but they omitted the P. P for Pings, Super Eagles. We know you're coming for us, but you know we're ready for you as well.
You know, when you lose at the quarterfinals or round of 16, it's easier to deal with than when you lose at the semi-final.
Yes.
It's a really tough one to deal with mentally.
Yes.
You know, but you know, that's what strong men are made of. Strong stuff. Okay, this one is from Fada Mirak, and have we taken Aldo Trapani? Trapani, we're taking Aldo Trapani.
Yeah, I've taken Aldo Trapani.
Fada Mirak says, Osime and Lukman, when Nigeria needs them the most. Hashtag AFCON final, Manchester United, Ten Hag, and it goes on.
All right, we'll continue to go with this. Goody, the Eagle don't finally reach ground. Nice one. Well, thank you for your thoughts. Whether you're for or against
that
this is fine.
Ghanaian, it's South African.
It's okay. And you see, some of them were stripping the Eagles of their power and the feathers and all of that. But it's okay. We'll continue to see all of that. Because let's read a few more before we jump out of here.
Okay, so this one is from Daroy. Daroy says, Nigeria football jersey sellers right now. Well, they still made their gains over the weekend because no one ever thought that Nigeria could lose at the finals.
Exactly. Padawan says, Ivory Coast just saved the world from noise pollution. Oh, no, you didn't have to go there. Whatever.
No.
No, you can't shut us down. That's the truth. We just mellow for a bit because we're not happy. We wish we won this thing. But just give us 24 hours.
Yeah. We're making a comeback. And this one is from Truthrobi, and they say Ghana will be taking jollof rice and South Africa is taking back Amapiano. Thank you, AFCON 2023, AFCON final, hashtag NIGCIV. This is definitely a Ghanaian or South African.
All right, Ziki D. Grace says, Nigeria with an exclamation. No Grammy, no AFCON, no electricity, no infrastructure, just giant of Africa. And inshallah. Well, it's okay. We know you're coming for us, but it's okay. It's all right. We're good. Just give us time. It's all right.
30BG is saying something similar, or AIAMUC rather is saying something similar, and they say no Grammy Award, no AFCON, just years, corruption and bribery.
All right, so a lot of talks, a lot of comments coming from all of you. We want to thank you. Keep them coming as much as possible on the program. We'll entertain them and read it out for you to know, for the world to hear what you're saying on X. That's our responsibility right here on the morning brief. Bukola, why this is painful is because they say you do not win a silver, you lost the gold. So it's what it is, as they say.
But a silver is still a treasure. It would have been more disgraceful, not painful now, for African giants not to have been able to make an impressive show at the AFCON 2023, and the finals was an impressive show, not just an impressive show, a statement of Nigeria's strength as far as football is concerned. And of course, the rankings will be coming out just to say, to tell where Nigeria's place is on the African football table.
Well, that conversation is what we'll be having next, to explore all that happened after 90 minutes in Abidjan. What exactly happened that the Super Eagles of Nigeria lost at that very important finals? What did Cote d'Ivoire do right? We'll be joined by two of our sports correspondents right here on the program. Join us again.
I'm not happy. We lost. That's what I expected. I didn't expect it. The way we've been playing, I expected that we're going to win the cup. I'm not happy. I don't even know what to say, but I'm not happy.
So, but the general performance of the boys, they finished second place. What do you think about them?
This year, Nigerians tried. The players tried their best. We came far. We tried.
We have attacked Ghana, Cameroon, South Africa on social media. We have insulted everybody in Africa. What do you think is going to happen this night?
We are finished. The giants of Africa were defeated. Well, we are winners all the same. We are winners. We did our best.
We have tried our best, and the rest assured that there is always the next time. Benjamin Mays, former president of Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, said, "It must be borne in mind that the tragedy of life lies in not reaching your goal. The tragedy lies in having no goal to reach. It isn't a calamity to die with dreams unfulfilled, but it is a calamity not to dream. It is not a disaster to be unable to capture your ideal, but it is a disaster to have no ideal to capture. Not failure, but low aim is seen." Some countries, Morocco, Egypt, Tunisia, exited 2-3 weeks ago. We have come this far, so close. Be rest assured that we'll come back warring stronger in the next dispensation. There is a cause for celebration. We are the second best footballing nation in Africa. You have no cause to be sad. We have every cause to celebrate. The nation is proud of you. You are the source of our national unity. It's when the Super Eagle plays. No race, no region, no religion. You unite the nation. The nation is in grip, but the nation is in solidarity with you. Be rest assured that your names will be written in gold in the annals of contemporary football history in Nigeria. Please, I convey to you the best wishes and regards from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. There is no need for you to be sad.
Win or lose, we are Nigerians, absolutely, and we wear it with the pride. And I mean, our bloody Frabby check is green at this point. But let's talk about a few things, really. We need to break down that match. And I know a lot of people are asking, how do you cope with the loss? We thought we were going to win. We had bought drinks. In fact, some people had promised they won't go to work today. But here you go. So we'll walk you through that match. Talk about some coping mechanisms and just make light of the situation. It's sports, okay? It's not life and death. And to do that with us, we are joined by the woman who we started this journey together and we're ending it together. Cecilia Omorgbe is here with us. She's our sports anchor and correspondent right here at Challenge Television. Cici, good morning.
Good morning. It's great to be here.
Again, right?
Again, right?
And joining us virtually.
Good to see you smile, Cici, actually.
We have to. I mean, come on, we can celebrate silver. It's not bad.
It's not bad. Right? It even looks better than gold.
Do you understand? Sometimes it shines brighter, right? Yeah. I mean, the silver lining. There's always the silver lining. How do you, I mean, just take a look at it. Yeah.
No wonder they say before insulting Nigeria, Nigeria will insult themselves first. So there's nothing to use and insult us. So I like the fact that we're taking this the way it is.
Absolutely.
There's nothing Ghana, Cameroon, and South Africa.
They didn't even get this far. Where did they stop us somewhere? Yeah. Somewhere on the road.
We're still their big brothers.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
In everything you can think of. I mean, Côte d'Ivoire, they hosted. I mean, 1984 when they hosted this thing, it was group stage. Yeah. They exited. I mean, they are hosting again. So give them the props. The investment, everything had to count. $1.5 billion. Come on. So they have something to be happy about. That 4-0 bashing, you know, right there in front of their biggest stadium, in front of their fans, almost 60,000. That alone, I mean, something something, I don't know, something shifted. And they were like, look, we're hosting this. I mean, we've got the players. And then Sebastian Haller, that wasn't 2 feet going into the tournament, he started the last 2 games. And he scored semi-final and final. So give the props to them.
Okay.
They suffered along the way. Nigeria had a very smooth run and then sailing into the final, not losing one single match. So losing the final, not so bad.
Okay. So you see the coping mechanism. We're walking you through how to cope with this. But of course, joining us virtually as well is Austin Okonakwan. Austin, good morning. I mean, I don't know how you're handling this, but you've gone down this road a lot, Austin. So tell us, how are you coping with this to begin with?
Smiling.
Sorry, greetings, guys. This isn't a good way to make my debut on your show, but it's the vice president said we shouldn't be sad, that we should take it, learn from it, and I think There are loads of positivities from this one. We shouldn't just look at the fact that we didn't win the trophy. Let's take a look at where our football is at the moment. I know our leaders, after this time, people shouldn't fold their hands and say, we expected them to win when they were private jets and were disappointed. Now that you've seen that you can actually get close to it, start putting in the work now to, and win it next time. It's not far off again. Next year, we're going to have another AFCON, so let's consolidate on these efforts and, find ways to, these smiles now, this celebration that they paused, let's see if we can get it back again next year.
But Austin, I'm curious, and I want both of you to speak to this, because a lot of Nigerians were really invested in this. I saw women for the very first time. You should have seen Bukola, Austin. Bukola became an analyst, emergency analyst. Bukola was following the match, giving us stats.
You have to go there, right?
No, absolutely. And I think this is one of the great things that came out of this.
Right?
It was impressive. My wife was really invested in it. I saw women coming round to watch the match. Austin, how do we cope with a loss like this? Because we were so invested, what do we do? How do we pick ourselves together and face life? You've gone this path a lot, so please give us coping mechanism, Austin.
No, it's good, like I was saying the other day on Sports Tonight that I hope our leaders are seeing the way football can actually bring us together as a people. I hope they can see the business potentials in it. You just talked about the interest. Yes, the other day I was watching Bukola and I was like, wait a minute, she's coming because the interest was
so
out
Bukola is a new revelation.
Yesterday, I didn't just see women, I saw kids, I went to about 10 different watch parties in London. Can you believe it? People came out to support the Super Eagles. The interest with football now is over the roof. Those should count for something, We shouldn't just use this for talking points. The Nigerian Football Federation should work with the National Orientation Agency, should work with the Ministry of Sports Development, should work with the Ministry of Information, find ways to do strategic, partnerships, collaboration that can keep this interest going, that can make football, what we shouldn't just go out there to play, make it a cause, find ways to, champion, activities, programs that will get people pumped up. Well, not just for the Super Eagles, guys, for also the Super Falcons, the Flamingos, the Falconets, the Golden Eaglets, the Flying Eagles, football at the grassroots, football in schools. By the time we do these things, I always tell people that we only know ours. Do you know the work Cote d'Ivoire put into their football? Do you know the work small Gambia, Burkina Faso, Guinea? You saw small teams come to this AFCON and they got us talking. We didn't believe this team was going to do this good. Yeah. Yes, they've done this good. Let's find ways to consolidate these efforts. That's what matters. Otherwise, all of this interest, Bukola one day will come and say, don't tell me about sports anymore, John. We're not doing what we should do to keep it going. So that's important that we do,
Austin, don't worry, I'm here to stay, really, particularly after this tournament. So I'm set to become the new revelation in female sports journalism. After this.
I've got a place in the house, I'm not alone anymore.
You're not alone anymore. All right, Sisi, there's been a lot of belly aching about why Joseph Asero altered the starting lineup by replacing Moses Simon with Samuel Chukwueze. How much of that really contributed to the performance of the Super Eagles?
Okay, when I saw the starting lineup, I said, this can't be real. That was what came to my mind because I watched the semi-final. I argued with Austin a lot concerning Samuel Chukwueze. We're saying, okay, because he worked against South Africa, at least we won. Let's forget how we won. But if you check against South Africa, we struggled a lot, especially when Moses Simon, some other players were taken out. And then you're not starting the same player. I felt that was what we got it wrong because when I saw him, I'm like, I didn't want to watch, but you don't have a choice. You have to watch the game. Now, Chukwueze is not a consistent player. I feel you don't. How do I put it now? Sunday said something said something about you not tampering with a winning team. If it's working for you, stick with it. Fine. You've been playing 5 defenders. How many more players you need to defend? What was supposed to score goals, but they didn't have that. Take a look at Sebastian Haller. He got all the supplies he wanted, and we're saying something when Cote d'Ivoire started this journey that if Sebastian Haller is fit, they have a poaching goal scorer who could score. Frank Kesse will not do most of the job anymore, and that was what happened. Now we have that, but why didn't we use them? it was the final match, for crying out loud. Put everything on the field of play. I don't know, maybe it was written in the stars, like they say, because of the miraculous journey of Côte d'Ivoire. Maybe that's what happened. But at the end of the day, Chukwueze starting, for me, I think that wasn't an ideal thing to do. We could have been 2 or 3 goals up in the first half, because we watch Côte d'Ivoire all the time. That second half is as if there's something injected into their blood. Check what they did against the champions, Senegal. I mean, they came back in the second half smoking as if they were not the same players who started that. I mean, we've seen that over time. They were always the king of comeback, so to speak. After winning their first game easily, the other games that they've played, they're always coming back. There was no game that was easy for them. We've seen that. And then you're facing a team like that. Why not start with your best foot forward?
Austin, let me throw this back to you, because I was curious. I was watching, I was telling myself, what exactly was Posero's game plan? What exactly was his game plan? Because when I saw the lineup, I was also curious. Then I saw when we scored the first goal, I saw that, are we going back to hold off? Yeah. For how long are we going to hold off? Because this is the sea of orange, and then these boys that are kings of comeback. What was the Posero's game plan, and why was it easily botched?
The game plan was simple, you know. He started the same set of players that defeated Côte d'Ivoire in the group stage. You guys are forgetting that. Chukwueze played that game, and they thought they were compact enough. They thought they did just enough to win that group game that ended 1-0. Remember? That was our second match. And they were coming from what Pizarro thought was a disappointing 1-1 against Equatorial Guinea. But in that group game, Côte d'Ivoire was just a poor team. They were just a poor team, and they confirmed it when they went on to lose 4-0 to Equatorial Guinea. Now, this is football. Anything can happen, it can change. What I just don't like about last night, I'm trying so hard not to blame the players, you know, because they are hurting at the moment. The defenders were doing zonal marking. Look at the first goal. The guy had so much chance. Casey even counted 1, 2, 3 before he went for the header. That's school football error. You do not give your opponent that sort of chance from a corner, from a set piece, from any form of cross. No defender whatsoever was on the guy. And then Wabali, probably because of you, didn't see the ball, and it was 1-1. Now at 1-1, you want to do the least. Try to go offensive, try to make them create errors, but we were still playing with the handbrakes on. This is what I don't like with this team. They were trying to change. We saw them change formation against Cameroon. And when I spoke to Coach Pizarro, I gave him his flowers. I said, Coach, you were creative. When you saw something was going wrong, you were changing. I think at some point you should have gone to 4-4-2, soak pressure in the middle, see how you can use the wingers more because they're fast, and then Osimhen might just do something. What player that refused to come to the party? And I know this so well because I know the setup of the Super Eagles, and I speak to a lot of the guys inside. Alex Iwobi didn't come to this competition. He was the guy who is supposed to draw out opponents, find space, drive in, and play creative parts, or even see how you can go all the way. He didn't do it, and you could tell he was so disappointed with his performance when he was substituted. Hey guys, did you see the crowd at the stadium for Côte d'Ivoire? It's a final game. This is a team that football gave a second chance, and they said they weren't going to lose it. I think they're worthy winners. They did just enough. This is the same way the Super Eagles have been playing. They've been playing this way, and they've been lucky going through. South Africa tried to crack it. They weren't just adventurous enough, and that's why you see Osimhen keeps struggling, keeps suffering. And this coaching crew, they are so scared of making those changes. If you take out Osimhen now and something goes wrong, some football fans will say, why did you take off Osimhen? If Osimhen had just one leg, he could have done something better than you bringing Paul Onuachu. I thought the technical crew should have been bold enough to make decisions, believe in other players, and then see what will come out of it. But don't fault the lineup. It started the same players that defeated Côte d'Ivoire 1-0 in the group stage.
Cecilia, you were just shaking your head.
No, because he said he started the same player, and he corrected later. He now said that it was a poor Côte d'Ivoire we played. I mean, how did we defeat Côte d'Ivoire? Go watch that game again. What happened? It was a penalty, right? Socioeconomic. Now, will you call that a win? And you have a Cote d'Ivoire who don't have their proven goal scorer in the person of Sebastian Haller. So I think, for me, I will fault it because we did not play well against Cote d'Ivoire. We're just lucky to win. If Osimhen hasn't cost that penalty and stayed on the ground for the referee to see him, we wouldn't have won that game. It would have been like a difficult game for us. So if you saw what happened against Cote d'Ivoire, and then you're repeating the same scoreline. The first game we watched against Guinea, we're like, what against Equatorial Guinea? People didn't want to watch the second game. I was at the stadium viewing center trying to interview. It was hard for me to get people to talk. They said, is this a team we want to watch? Is this a team we are saying can win the Nations Cup? Because of that performance. And then against Cote d'Ivoire, we were not better. That's a fact. The only game we played that were easy peasy for us was against Cameroon. That was the only game we played that were good. Every other game wasn't good enough. Against Angola, yes, we also came to the party in that game. But against Equatorial Guinea, against Cote d'Ivoire, against South Africa, those games were not good games. I mean, I don't think a coach will sit down and beat his chest and say, oh, my players perform here. No, it wasn't. Because we're seeing the work rate of Osimhen, of Socioeconomic, of Ademola Lookman, that actually gave us the advantage. If we had played the way we played against Angola, against Cote d'Ivoire, I think we would have gotten a win because we could see that vibe hunger. Maybe they were not tired at that time, or maybe against Cameroon. But I think tiredness set in because that game against South Africa went into extra time, went into penalties. They were fagged out. I remember the game against South Africa where Osimhen there was a time it was stretched out, yeah? It was, taken up, and then later he came onto the field before he was substituted. So these players were already tired. So I felt as a coach, you've got the bench. I mean, the South Africans Ghanaians were even yabbing their own players that one of Nigeria's greatest player, Kelechi Iheanacho, is sitting on the bench. Why, their worst players are actually starting. That's how well they actually respected the players that we have. So why not make use of the players that you have? I felt, for me, I will still fault that starting lineup. I will still fault the fact that Iwobi, Austin, yes, correct there when he talks about Alex Iwobi. The kind of formation he's playing, he came here to defend, and then if he score one goal, he will be satisfied. And we know that formation will not fit Iwobi. We know Iwobi is not a player that can distribute the ball. We all know that. That's why we missed Ndidi going into the tournament, I mean, a natural DM. So when you're playing a position like that, that is not what Iwobi can do. I felt as a coach, you should know the work rate of every one of your players. So, you don't have the midfield. It's very lean. Fine. When he said you have 5 defenders, what happened to the front 3? The front 3, if you know Moses Simon, yes, I mean, fantastic. There are some games, you see the flashes. Okay. Chukwueze also, for instance, come with flashes, but he makes more mistakes than the kind of flashes he sees. It's just some flashes and you're like, oh, he's a fantastic player. And then the next thing he's losing the ball, the next thing is not tracking back, or the next maybe he's not going for that ball. And some mistakes that he made, I felt, I don't know, maybe that's why he was taken out early. Because for me, if he had just maybe be bold enough to start Terence Murphy, I think we would have had maybe 1 or 2 goals in that first half, really, because when you have Terence Murphy, you're having Osimhen, you're having I don't know how he would have to, I'm not the coach, but I don't know what he would have done to have those front 3 play. But that's why you're a coach. That's why you need to make use of what you have to get the result that you deserve.
Absolutely, and we have a lot of firepower. At some point I was wondering, okay, maybe we're tired coming off the South African game. It went to extra time and it was a very draining match. Yeah. At some point, people were saying, oh, did they threaten our players? And you know what? Don't come out, don't win this match. Lots of thoughts running through our mind because you look at our team and you see the quality in that team from the back. Like, we have great defenders. Bassi is like a wall. I mean, you see the work he did yesterday. He blocked a vital goal that was about to go. You can see him celebrating because that would have been terrible for us. I mean, you could talk about Shemi Ajayi, Socioeconomic.
Olaino, brilliant.
I didn't see Olaino yesterday, and you're wondering, so did we do something to deliberately hold back those players? Because those are not the players we're used to. I mean, Zaidu, we were looking forward to him coming back after that injury was back, but he didn't show up as much as we'd see Zaidu show up. I know we've talked about Iwobi a lot, but even Lookman, they were doing so much work. Osimhen looked like he was just stressed and frustrated. And I'd like to come to this point. At some point, I think it was midway during the first half, I started seeing something that I'm not used to seeing with our footballers, and that is, it looked like Osimhen was getting aggressive. If you had noticed. I mean, Nwabali was using cuss words, and those are not the players we're used to. And it looked like they were, I don't know if it was part of the psychology that the coach asked them to throw in. They were picking up fights, and it looked like a distraction. Did we think we were going to lose this match? So let me come to Austin. I don't know if you noticed those things. It looked like our players, we know Super Eagles for fair play. We're always very charitable on the pitch. We're usually the ones to try to calm issues. But our players at some point looked like they were trying to pick a fight. I don't know if it was just me, but did you notice that? Is that part of the psychology? Because I think that actually cost us, because we're now majoring on the minor.
So Kayode, final games come with their own type of spirits. Final are very, very tricky. So those guys could actually feel the heat coming at them. If you go and look again, go and see the number of Ivorians at that stadium. It's intimidating, and they were making errors. And sometimes the only way they can, correct themselves is to go hard on themselves, particularly the goalkeeper. He's the one who is saying everything. So you can say, look, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, but don't take anything away. They know it's a battle. So when they go at themselves like that, it's not to distract themselves, but to let the opponents know that, look, we understand that you're bringing the game to us. We don't like it and we want to take it back. So they talk. Back in the day, there was a goalkeeper, George Campos. I don't know if you guys can remember him. He would go knock his players on the head. He would push. Chilavet used to do the same thing. He would shout at them, just to let the opponents know, we don't like the way you are taking the play at us, and we're going to do something about it. But just yesterday, look, the Ivorians stepped their game up. Simon Adingra was a different beast. He tortured Olai, Guys, it's not easy. These guys play in Europe. The conditioning and everything, it's not the same. That pitch also, I always talk about infrastructure in Africa. It didn't really do justice for it. And each time there was a close-up shot on the pitch, you could see damages here and there. It affects the football these guys play in Europe. No excuses. It's a final game, but Côte d'Ivoire did just enough to soak the pressure, sustain it. We wanted a goal before first half. We got the goal before the end of first half. Now we came back and Côte d'Ivoire said, hey, now we know what we want to do to you. Against South Africa, look, everybody can come out now and fault these tactics of Pizarro, but that's what took us to the final. And the man stayed with it. He said if it's not broken, he won't fix it. He said he will not give open play where his opponents will torture his players and keep scoring. The guy was doing open play, lost to Sierra Leone 4-4. We were doing open play. We can't beat Lesotho, beat Zimbabwe. We came here, we locked things up, and we beat Cameroon, we beat South Africa. We went all the way. So it worked for the coach. But the difference with this final game, they weren't daring enough. They weren't adventurous. They were just comfortable with that lead that they took into the break and was hoping that something would just go wrong with the Ivorians. They catch them on the counter and score a second. But they didn't create those chances. Against South Africa, we had chances, we had opportunities that were like, that was close, they could have scored. We didn't see it against Côte d'Ivoire. Against Angola, we created opportunities. Lukman missed a sitter. Osimhen missed a chance also. We didn't see that yesterday because the Ivorians kept taking the game to us. You cannot have that kind of support and give the Super Eagles a chance to break and punish you, and at 2-0, it's game over.
We're out of time, but Sisi, very quickly, talk to us about the strategy of retention and of comeback ahead of subsequent games.
Okay, I think that's a difficult one because I know Pesero's, he said, when he was given the contract, he said was that his target was to win the AFCON, but the NFF was like, semi-final was okay. But I don't know if they're going to retain him or it's going to go. But I think, when you talk about consistency and build-up, sometimes you just want to maintain what you've started. Yeah, but if you ask me, I don't think he should stay, honestly, because I feel we need... I feel we need a better coach. I'm sorry to say this. If Hugo Broos was Super Eagles coach, I think we should have won this Nations Cup because you've got that crop of talent. I understand, yes, defensively it's not be working for you. Defensively it's not be working for you. Tell you, okay, this is what's worked for me. Now you've got these stars. What are you doing with them? That's what I think a coach, I mean, MS Faye came on when Cote d'Ivoire were on the brink. I mean, he's the first coach ever in the history of football that did not start a tournament and went on to win it. What did he do differently? I mean, fine, we know that some of the Sebastian Haller that wasn't there from the beginning was not now fit. Yeah, he came back and added a boost to them. I mean, someone agreed that Adingra that he talked about, 2 assists he had. I mean, fine, all I know was on him, but he just couldn't stick with him. So these are some of the facts you look at. How do you know your players? How do you understand them? I mean, what are the things that they can do differently if they are pushed to the edge? I mean, we kept defending and defending until the pressure was off. You're talking about the fans. Fine, this is not the first time Super Eagles has lost. They've lost 4 finals. I mean, you've gone to 8 finals. You've lost 4. You've won 3. 5. What am I saying 4? 5. I mean, 8 finals, you've won 3, you've lost 5. This is the 5th one. I mean, that's the most of any nation. So another aspect is, he talked about, when he mentioned fans, I remember this, I'm not trying to compare Austin, we're not going to argue this. The Super Falcons in 2017 in Cameroon, the stadium Cameroon used in the finals, bigger than what Cote d'Ivoire did. I mean, it was, when you know a hostile crowd, you know when you're in a media center, your team will score, you cannot celebrate. It was that bad. I mean, the crowd in Cameroon, the president, everyone, it was like when the president entered, it was like a military parade. You know how that, you know that feeling. That was how it started. The fans at the stadium, what Paranozi was able to get that goal, and Super Falcons won against a host nation, and they came home. So,
right,
I mean,
so what a man can do,
crowd alone,
we get that.
The crowd was hostile. I mean, the players
right.
wouldn't have been able to score because of what the crowd was. So if you're telling me those boys who are top stars in their club, the pressure got to them on the field, they froze, and they didn't know how to defend anymore, schoolboy errors, I don't think I agree with that. But going forward, we can keep the team together because I know we have a very fantastic,
there's definitely a lot to talk about. We didn't want to go to the refereeing in the initial point because Nigerians were almost crazy about what was going on with the officiating, but all of that.
It was the best ever. Even England is saying, Austin, you know, your people are saying they should come learn from Africa how we're able to manage the VAR as if we invented it.
Maybe we did, but
maybe. Let's find out exactly.
Let's find out.
I know Austin will have varying thoughts on whether or not to keep Coach Pesero. I don't know, Austin, do you just want to nod your head or otherwise? What your thoughts are? Before we run.
Yes or no, should Pesero go?
No, he should stay.
Okay.
Like we played in the final. He should stay. And we've got the World Cup in 2026. And he knows those players. We keep breaking this.
We did not go to Qatar.
Coaches. Pesero stay, qualifiers for the World Cup. Go and close shop at the World Cup and get us to the final.
Thank you, Austin. I'm on your side, Austin, because had we won, I'm sure City would be saying something different.
Going into the final,
guys,
win or lose, I thought we should go. Win or lose, yeah. We had won it. Win or lose, we should go.
Well, let's know what you think if you're watching us CTV Morning Break. On social media, you can send us your WhatsApp messages as well. But ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to thank you so much. And I know football gets us emotional, so let's maintain that emotion. Austin O'Connor for joining us.
Good to see you again,
Absolutely, Austin. You see, we're working towards peace in the world, Austin. We're working towards that.
I'm going to say there cannot be peace.
And Cecilia Mongwe, thank you so much. Of course, we'll be seeing you, of course, doing more analysis of this match. Thank you so much for this time. I'm going to mimic Austin right now as we go on a break. Don't go anywhere. Stay.
We are acutely aware of the rising security challenges affecting different parts of the country. As elected representatives, we acknowledge the pain and suffering of every family that has been a victim of brutal crimes and needless violence. Let it be known that your cries have not fallen on deaf ears, and your tears have not gone unforeseen. We stand in solidarity with every Nigerian affected and commit to deploy robust legislative measures to empower our security agencies, ensure justice, and restore peace and order in our communities. You may recall, on November 8, 2023, the President signed the 2.176 trillion Supplementary Appropriation Act to strengthen Nigeria's security architecture. and address Nigeria's critical infrastructure deficit. Among other considerations, this investment in the face of global economic downturn and budgetary constraints attests to the government's determination to end insecurity in Nigeria.
Welcome back to the Morning Brief. We've talked sports. It's now time to shift gears to other issues of national importance, and one of them is the issue of security. And with what we've seen last year into January and now February, it has to be on the front burner so that we will continue to explore all the options to make sure our people are safe, as promised and enshrined in our Constitution, that the welfare of citizens and their protection and security is the primary responsibility of government. That's why we're being joined on the program by the pioneer commander of the Multinational Joint Task Force via Zoom, Brigadier General Jonathan Temlong, retired. General, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you. It's always my pleasure. Good morning.
General, I know that this is your area and you've been following development as far as security is concerned. And I'm wondering, there's been a lot of talk about what to do, what not to do. We're looking at options and all of that. I don't know what options that you think that we've not really discussed when it comes to national security that you want to bring to the fore to the authorities to begin to consider, given the fact that you're a pioneer commander of the Multinational Joint Task Force. You saw things uniquely. I don't know what unique things you're observing that maybe some of us are not seeing that you want to propose on the show to the government.
Well, I think, thank you very much. I think what I have been saying is that when we say security is everybody's business, what do we actually mean? And how do the citizens come into it? You know, in your initial script that we played, the speaker was talking about strengthening the national security infrastructure. But that national security infrastructure does not just stop at the federal level. It's supposed to cascade to the states and the local governments. The national security infrastructure actually should be a citizen-centric national security infrastructure. And that leads me to policies that were enacted by the governments, previous governments, that are just lying in the shell. And they are not even domesticated by the states and local governments. The National Defense Policy is a citizen-centered policy which talks about the roles of the citizens in national defense and national security. Now, how do these citizens fit in? It's just like you say a citizen has an obligation to remain alive when he has an accident or he has a cut before the medics come. That is giving first aid to himself or citizens around them or colleagues, people passing by, should be able to give him first aid. But do we have that in the national security sector too? That citizens are involved in getting timely intelligence to the security agencies? And how do they send this intelligence? And is there any means of accountability to see if you call the police, for instance, that you are being attacked in your home, kidnappers are attacking you? Is there any accountability to say the response time of the police, whether they responded or not? Can we hold somebody responsible, or we just assume it's business as usual? If there are no sanctions, no accountability, these things will not work. We are always talking about a state-centric security. That's just security dealing with the safety of the state. Those were Cold War era's definition of national security. The definition of national security now deals mainly with the human security aspect. And human security involves even food security, the environment. Right now, you have problems with desertification. People are forced to migrate down, so infrastructure or facilities that are there available are being overstretched. So what are those things going to cause? Friction. Even political security, even education security. Do we have that? Are we looking at that seriously as a nation? Food security, are we looking at that seriously as a nation? When the federal government talks about food security, is it only at the federal? What are the states doing to ensure food security? Because these are the whole gamut that cause for security. It's not the armed forces and security forces that give you security. If the citizens are well fed, they are well engaged, they are active, you will get security. The security agencies that are there to say, look, if you cross the line, you will be dealt with. So that assures the citizens who are law-abiding to know that to be law-abiding, you are being protected by the state. Now, what about the criminal justice system? Have we done much about it? The Chief of Defense Staff told us here, including everybody in this country, that when Boko Haram are arrested, the next minute they take them to court or they are released. And they go vicious. Kidnappers will threaten even the policemen and say, look, when you arrest me, well, my people are going to come. They will release him. So there is these are something that are seriously missing. Because if somebody knows that if he commits an offense, he will use the process of crime to go and get himself out, or his colleagues will use the process of crimes to walk through the same system that is supposed to protect the innocent citizens and get him released, security will be a mirage.
There's a lot to talk about. Brigadier General, pardon me, let me come in there. There's a lot to talk about as far as the judiciary is concerned in tackling insecurity when we look at punitive measures that should be more appropriately deployed. But let's stick with the federal government before we look at other arms of government now. Speaking about the Speaker's optimism for a review of the security architecture, let's look at the budgeting system, the envelope budgeting system that the leadership of the armed forces has had cause to talk about in the past. And this closed scrutiny of the budgeting system, what are your expectations from that process as far as the 2024 appropriation bill is concerned? If you consider that the leadership of the armed forces is talking about welfare, most of the officers are on 50,000 naira per month, especially those on the field, and all the other issues of equipment and infrastructure. What are expectations from that process for 2024 budget?
Well, thank you very much. My expectations are not very optimistic because there are certain fundamentals that we have not been able to do. One, the budgeting system of the armed forces or Ministry of Defense is different from the way you do normal budgeting. Unless we agree with that. The budgeting system that was recommended is the planned program budgeting system for the armed forces. That means you have plans, you have programs, and you fix naira and kobo to what you need, the capabilities and capacities to be able to achieve those plans and programs. So envelope system will not even work for the armed forces. You are just doing something that is an aberration. Now, the second other aspect which you touch critically is that the most important thing in the armed forces is the personnel, because no matter the arms or ammunition that you bring and you buy, the man behind those guns are the ones that makes the difference. And if his morale is not high, if he is not catered for, then there is going to be a serious problem. In fact, our saying in the armed forces is that a soldier marches on his stomach. And for goodness sake, a bag of rice and a salary of a soldier cannot buy a bag of rice. And don't forget, those soldiers look as those of us who have commanded and taught them and trained them with the zeal and enthusiasm and the patriotism we put in. And then they see our state in retirement now. They know that when they retire, they are just going to be like us or even worse than us. So it's a holistic thing. While looking at those in service, you have to look at those who train them, who have served them and commanded them before and are out of service. And that brings the welfare of the veterans. It's never played with in any country except here in Nigeria, where I see veterans moving cap in hand, looking for food, looking for medication to buy, to save themselves. So you have to look at those things, that the salaries of the armed forces personnel is never compared with civilian salary structure. What we have done in this country is an aberration. The El Rufai committee that sat down and did those things is an aberration. You don't even compare ranks of the armed forces with civil ranks. The armed forces have a specialized this thing. In fact, it is only the armed forces that are given what you call presidential commission for officers. So it's not that the oath he's taking is far heavier and weightier than any other office a person takes. The responsibilities on his shoulders are quite heavy. You can see the men that he commands. Any mistake he makes, the officer or even the NCO, has a cascading effect right down to his family and his community.
Right.
So for you to give orders or lead men and put them in harm's way, you have to be special.
Absolutely.
And the government and the country has to be behind you to know that, look, if you put your citizens or your soldiers or armed forces personnel in harm's way, you are there for them. So it has to go beyond just putting those infrastructure. Is the national will, is the nation behind the armed forces personnel? And if they are, what are those things they are doing to show to the armed forces that this is a grateful nation for your sacrifices?
Indeed.
These are the building blocks that makes a strong defensive or a strong national security infrastructure. It's not going to talk every time on this thing. And you should not forget too that defense procurement are not like the same thing as going to procure things for the hospitals, where you go and buy them off the shelf. They are not the same. Some take time to manufacture. Some, there are restrictions in other countries that when they even give you, you come and change.
Absolutely. Quite important points you have made. And it's important to have that holistic view to things. Is the nation supporting the armed forces? And I know the average Nigerian will also say, well, naturally, we should get the supports too from the armed forces, so it should be both ways. But I'd like to borrow an analogy from the recently concluded AFCON, because I know it's still very much present in our hearts, and I imagine how you went through that match and how you are handling, the outcome. But we're faced with the challenge now, and for that AFCON, a lot of Nigerians were saying, the coach will have changed tactics. We're playing with a different team. It's not the same Cote d'Ivoire we played with in the group stages. So we expected our coach to change tactics. If we had won, maybe we'll have said, well, fantastic tactics. And it speaks to the point. People want results. For too long, we have talked about insecurity in our nation, either terrorism, banditry, kidnapping. We've talked about this. Former president saying we'll change security architecture. In fact, the term then was rejig the security architecture. So it's not like maybe we've not rejigged as we ought to, but we're not getting the results as we ought to. A new administration is here now, and I think I've heard about talks of rejigging, not the term, but you've heard like, okay, we're going to change the whole security architecture and the rest. But this is where we are. So, General, some have said if insecurity or terrorism lasts for this certain period, then obviously there's a hand of government or what have you in it. Nobody knows who really said that because it's been credited to a former head of state. But I'd like you to speak to us from your point of view. How long, ideally, should it really take to end this scourge of insecurity? Should we be battling with this for 10 years or more? Does it make sense?
Well, thank you very much. I think you asked a very valid question, and it comes from the lack of understanding of the threats we are dealing with. Because if you do not understand the threat or the narrative that is on ground, you will give all sort of analogies. And that court, by the way, lacks any antecedents that we're talking about in military parlance. In all the military literature that I've read, I've never seen such, because it's just coined by somebody or being attributed to somebody. And how did he arrive at that? I mean, military operations are based on observations or on what we have done before, and there are rules, and then there are principles of war. Now, what we are dealing with is very complex, and that's what we call it. Either you call it complex military operations or asymmetric warfare, which is a citizen-centric war, which deals with the citizen, because you are not dealing with another country that has invaded you. If you are dealing with an invasion of another country, a state-to-state, these are non-state actors that are dealing with you. They are criminals, they are brothers, they are relations, they speak the same language, and then they are planning evil against you, pure criminality. So in dealing with them is different from when you are talking about dealing with a whole state. And I will give you examples. People that talk as if we are not students of history, military history. How long did it take Northern Ireland, the British government, to actually put the Northern Ireland crisis in place? Over 30 years. And in the end, it was at the sitting table that those things were resolved. How long did it take the French in Indochina? How long did it take the British in Malaysia? The French had to move out from Indochina and hand it over to the Americans. In the end, it was the American citizens that said, bring back our troops. So, in dealing with these citizen-centric things, they used to call them, in those days, they say freedom fighters, or they call them communist rebels and the rest. It depends on where you are coming from. The Africans were calling themselves freedom fighters. The colonialists were calling them communist rebels or something of that sort. They are the same sort of mixture, because people are fighting for something. But what is it that is spoiling them? What the oxygen of criminality and criminals and insurgency and terrorists is the citizens. And when you cut off that oxygen from them, they will not survive. What do they want to achieve for the terrorists or insurgents? They want to control the citizens, and the tactics they use sometimes is terrorism. And some say, oh, guerrilla warfare. But because what do they want? They want to frighten the citizens and win their control. But in this sort of banditry on the other side here and kidnappers is criminality. They are looking for this thing, but you mix, it's a whole mix of those. So for you to handle it, you're not taking of these tactics. It's not just a purely kinetic tactics that you need. The non-kinetic or the soft power components takes a better chunk of about 70 to 80%. So how can you assess the non-kinetic or the soft power component now in this war against criminality, insurgency, banditry, and terrorism? Can you give it a percentage of even 20%? I would say no, because you are not. See what Governor Zulum is doing in Borno State, and look at the difference now in Borno State. It shows that when you start leading and providing non or soft power components to the extent to that effect, you see that the kinetic component complements it, and you have a better progressive peace than when you sit down and just rely on a kinetic effort alone without the soft power component. So, yeah.
Yes, if I may butt in, just as you're trying to conclude on that thought, I wanted to find out, because when you look at the success rate of these people you classify as criminals or criminal elements or non-state actors, it appears that our intelligence is not meeting up as much as it should do. I'll give you an example that you're quite familiar with. The carnage on the plateau on Christmas Eve, and then what we've seen in general and all of that. It's like they are a step ahead of us, because of the number of casualties we have to record whenever they strike at that scale. So I would like you to speak to the issue of our intelligence in being proactive to be able to stop this menace. Are we failing in that area? Are we not doing enough? Or what exactly is in that gamut of intelligence community?
Well, thank you very much. This speaks to what I've been talking about, the soft power component or the citizens' participation in national security. Now, this intelligence assets you're talking about includes you and me, the citizens. So the failure of even the state itself to teach or to build the capacity of the citizens to observe and report things that are of national security concern itself is an intelligence failure, because it's a failure of the state. Because these people do not live off the land. These people have collaborators inside. I wish people had gone to the ground and seen what these people have done at Bokos or in all these areas on the plateau. They have known that these are the locations of our troops, of the security agencies. They have actually sometimes even known the numbers, because they go around, they use citizens around to tell you, oh, look, these are the numbers, and even the movement. The Chief of Staff, the Chief of Defense Staff confirmed that sometimes it is Nigerians or citizens who report the movement of troops to them. 2, you cannot go and come into an area that you have not been there before and attack in the night without using night goggles, without having an accurate recce of the area and a map to actually know that these are what and what it is. In fact, if you see how those chaps that took off Bin Laden in Pakistan, they built a replica of his house in where they were practicing how to storm it. Now, these people came and attacked in about 20 locations simultaneously, because they know if they take it piecemeal, the security forces will react to them and deal with them piecemeal, because they will not be able to contain them. So what they devised was that the distance. So even the information given to them, the reconnaissance, they went in, and these are sometimes the strange elements that we're talking about. That when you see strange things happening around a location, they just don't sit down and attack. Some people would have come into that location looking for food, buying food from the food sellers, because they don't live off the land. They have to live from what they have. They would have had a base somewhere. General, from that base, they are this thing.
General,
so the citizens themselves will have to help the security agencies to analyze, because they give raw information to the intelligence agencies.
General,
it is these intelligence agencies that analyze.
General, if you can hear me, if I'm a button, before my colleague takes the next question, just on what you're saying, why do you think that the community or the people are not collaborating with the state to give information, rather they are collaborating with the terrorists for the people that do that? There must be a reason.
Well, the reason is that you have not even trained them on what to do. So what they don't even think that is of intelligence value, they give to those people, and because they bring money. Nigerians bring money. You buy information with money. It's very expensive, and they're ready to give money to cut their friendship. They give you money. They are so good, so they talk to you. Not that they are not cooperating with us, but you have not built the capacity of the citizens to understand that what they are doing, although there are criminal elements that will still do what they are doing, that what the information you are giving these people has got intelligence value that can be used against you tomorrow. So you must build their capacity to say, look, if this man is asking this question, let me report that there is somebody who is asking these questions and the rest about our troops, our disposition.
General,
so these are things that, yes, please.
Those reasons regardless, and I want you to take this very quickly because it's just as important. Those reasons regardless, it would seem as if the troops are losing control of our forests. So whether it's Zamfara, Niger, Kaduna, or what's the other states now, Katsina, the forests are in the hands of the bandits. There was a report just last month about how the Nigerian army have abandoned their training base in Kajuru, in Kaduna State. How else is it better training that they require to take control of all those forests and take over them from the hands of the bandits?
Thank you very much. Some years back, when I was president of the Alumni Association of the National Defense College, we did a seminar, we held a seminar on national security seminar, and we talked about our forests and government spaces. The communique and the papers are all published, and we send them to government. You see, when you talk about losing our forests, if you want to dominate those forests that you have, then you have to probably bring about 1 million or more boots on ground, including technology and the rest. And see, that's why you have to, when you are talking of building a national security infrastructure and a national security architecture, it's just not just the military alone. Now, when you look at, when we were growing up, we had what we used to call forest guards. Those forest guards are the ones who should know everywhere in that forest. Now, they are supposed to be observing certain movements in those forests and make reports to the government. These reports are analyzed by the National Security Agency analyzes this and then send it to Mr. President, and the weapon of choice or the arm of choice will be used to dislodge those. But when you don't have forest guards in those areas, or even the numbers, because when we did it, the condition of the forest guards were pathetic, and we sent it to the ministry and the government. They didn't have a scale of salary. They were just there and the rest. 2, our youth today are not adventurous. During my days, we used to go hunting. We used to go archery. We used to go on expeditions into these forests and the rest. We, the youth too, were providing intelligence and information and intelligence to the security forces or to the community. Because if we observe anything in those forests that we used to go hiking, we used to report. So, but if you say that the armed forces will sit down and dominate all those forests, we don't have the numbers. We don't even have the equipment. So it's not that they are ahead of us, it's because we have got the whole thing wrong.
All right, General. Apparently that there's a lot that needs to be done, and we hope that as soon as possible, the people in authority would act and ensure that people are safe, because what we're talking about is basically to ensure that people stop dying as quickly as possible. So we face other challenges of our country, but we need to be alive first to face these challenges. We must thank you, the Pioneer Commander, Multinational Joint Task Force, and the Fellow of War College Abuja, is a retired Army officer, Brigadier General Jonathan Temlong, who joined us via Zoom from Just. Thank you so much, General, for coming on the program. We're going to shift gears now to other issues on the program, but we'll take this quick break. When we come back, well, one of your influencers will be joining us. He was a reality TV star at some point, and we'll bring you that detail when we come back. Join us again.
Welcome back to the morning brief. Now, from the disappointing loss to Côte d'Ivoire in Abidjan yesterday to security matters, is as if we're making progress and we're getting, recovery, a bit of coping mechanism, from the switching of conversations. And it's bound to get better because we're moving to something even more light-hearted as we welcome one of your favorite social media influencers, one of those faces that you love to see either on your screens or on your device. Let's welcome Prince Mwerem to the program. Welcome, Prince.
Thank you very much.
Now, we know you as Prince, but you're really a real prince from a royal household, right?
Yes.
That's fantastic. So your royal majesty, potentially. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
So you've had an interesting career trajectory from your time at the Big Brother house. You've also represented Nigeria at the Mr. World pageant outside the country. That's fantastic. And we're ready to dive right into the conversation. But first of all, tell us how you coped with that match yesterday.
Thank you.
That's a good place to start.
I had paramedics on the standby. my doctor was there with BP apparatus just in case. I mean, I think from the first 10-20 minutes into the match, I was scared that we were going to lose because I've always been complaining throughout the tournament. We didn't have a functional midfield, and that's what they did. They took the midfield from us, and the rest was history. We were not driving as much as we could because there was nobody to control the midfield. And that guy, I think the guy on Aina's side, the number 25,
tint, right?
that guy is very dangerous.
Well, we're moving on now. At least
really. How did you then overcome the loss? What are you doing?
I went from there. I went from there straight to a show.
Right.
To cool off. Just went from there straight to the general show and watch the likes of Ashake, Davido perform, and that's how I just managed to get over it.
Music was it for you?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll try some music after the program. Okay, so from Mr. World to fashion to acting, it seems like as if it's an expansive space, really. But what for you is most profound, throughout your career, and which has earned you the most success from the start?
I think at every point in my career had just been like a stepping stone, going from one thing to the other. The first one, I first tried out for Big Brother in 2018. That was the first time I tried out for Big Brother. But I didn't get it. I didn't get in. And then I auditioned for Mr. Nigeria and won the same year, just a couple of months apart. So I think that was like a step in the right direction. But the one that got me the most recognition was obviously Big Brother, and since then my career had just taken off, and I'm very grateful for that.
Is it as if you keep trying your hands on something, in the hope that something will click and earn you that big break, or you have your sights set on one particular aspect of the entertainment field, because we want to provide inspiration for young people who see being a social media influencer as the next route to the big break for them?
For me, I would like to say that everything I'm doing today, I've always said I was going to do it. I don't think there's anything I've achieved so far or anything I'm doing today that at some point, growing up, that I didn't say I was going to do this thing. I tweeted in 2011 that I was going to get on Big Brother. At the time, it wasn't even Big Brother Nigeria. He wasn't Big Brother Nigeria at the time. It was, apart from Ibuka's set, it was still Big Brother Africa. And I tweeted in 2011 to say, I will get on the show. I got on the show 9 years later. Or 9 years later. My friends who knew me from when I was in primary school, secondary school, they will always tell you how I always tell them that. They will tell you how I always say that, I was going to be on TV. I was going to be an actor. And I'm eventually doing it now. I started making hair while schools was on strike. In 2013, I went to the salon to go and learn. 2012, went to the salon to go and learn how to make hair. And I own a salon now. So it's this one. I've always said I will do this thing, and eventually I end up
go
doing
ahead and
it.
achieve it.
Yeah. So it's just consistency and drive, and the will to say something and see it through.
So let me ask: are you comfortable being called? Because there are so many parts to you. The model, you've been on Big Brother, you own a business, and all of. So are you comfortable being called a social media influencer?
I think it's just one aspect. I'm quite multifaceted. Calling me a social media influencer is just like, boxing me into one small aspect of all the things that I do. And I don't feel offended by it at all. But I feel that there's more to me than just being a social media influencer.
So before we come back to your person, let me take you to a bit of government now. There are talks about regulating that space called social media. And I'm sure you've heard, and I'm sure you have opinion about it. What will be your view as should the social media be regulated, and if it should be regulated, what does regulation really mean?
I don't think it should be regulated because we're in a country where we supposedly practice democracy and their right to freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and we all know our country. If they say they want to regulate something, they would, go the extra mile to try and clamp down on it. They have, shut down Twitter, and we had to use VPN to tweet for some time. So. And this is an avenue that we've used to express ourselves, voice out all the things that we believe is wrong with the country, held our leaders accountable. So if they want to regulate this, that means they are trying to cut off our voice. And we should, as a people, come together to stand against this and say no to that.
Interesting, because I don't know if you've seen the video making the rounds of the former speaker, now chief of staff to the president, from Biamila, speaking at that book launch for foreign minister, and then he was talking about social media being a menace. Then he was linking it to fake news and some other things, but essentially saying that it should be regulated. So it's important to put all of these opinions out there. I know a lot of people have spoken about it. People have said, well, the APC literally used social media essentially to come on board. In fact, people have dug out old tweets and the rest. And it just takes us to the point about, we'll still talk about the work you're doing, but we also from time to time try to raise these issues when we have conversations with, I don't want to say influencers. But, Superstars, right? Young people who are out there, who, own the limelight of sorts. And I wonder, when you look at government or governance in Nigeria, and I know you've interacted in other countries, you've seen how things work in other countries. What is that one thing you usually wish we could just get right when it comes to governance and leadership in Nigeria? As a young person, as a vibrant person who's also had, influences from across the board.
I believe that one thing we should, that if we get right, we'll go a long way, is accountability. How people in government hold each other accountable, because I believe that a lot of people in government don't hold each other accountable. They're not honest about what they're doing. There are a lot of kickbacks in government when giving out, contracts and all of that. There's a lot of lies being told about a lot of things. We were told that snakes swallowed 30 million, for Christ's sakes. Unimaginable things being said, and people who are terrible at their jobs, refusing to tell themselves the truth that I'm terrible at this, I need to resign. The people are crying. The moment we're able to, get leaders who can take accountability, who can say, okay, I messed up, I think I should step down, or I messed up, I'm going to do this and this to fix it and see it through, then we're going in the right directions. Right now, most people in government right now are there for their personal gains. And I think it's a problem with the people, the Nigerian mentality, because when you look across board, you would notice that a lot of Nigerians like corruption when it favors them. They would not speak up against it as long as it's favoring them. And you will see a lot of that statement was made during the elections. This government will favor me and my family. So that means if it's favoring you and your family and it's not favoring the next person, you are not bothered.
Indeed, the civic space must be guarded, must be protected, the right to freedom of speech, but the concerns about fake news, the concerns about disregard for constituted authority, and our culture, of respect for adults must also somehow be regulated and protected. But on a lighter note, Prince, I want you to talk to us about representing Nigeria on the world stage. You've represented Nigeria at the Mr. World pageant before. What does that feeling, what does it feel like, to carry the weight of the national colors on your shoulder? And then some of your adventures in some of the latest Nigerian movies in the last few years. We've seen you in Man of God and some of those other films. Talk to us about that.
It was a truly humbling experience. It was amazing. We were in Philippines for almost a month. That's where it happened in 2019. Yeah. the best of the best guys from all over the world. 71 different countries from all over the world came together, you know, in Philippines to give an amazing competition. It was one of the most difficult. I still say to you today, that's one of the most, if not the most difficult male pageants anywhere in the world, Mr. World. And going there, you know, carrying the weight of Nigeria and knowing that everybody, you know, a lot of young people out there who are in that space are looking up to me and, you know, hoping that we would win, because the last time that anybody came that close was Emmanuel Lukubese, who was my immediate predecessor. And he came first runner-up. So there was a very big shoe to fill. But I went there, I gave it my best. It was hard fought. I was top 5 in top talents across the world. It wasn't an easy feat because there were different categories. There was a fashion category, there was a top model category, there was talent, there was extreme sports, which is, we had to do military courses for special ops people. It was very intense, very intense. But at the end of the day, it was a very enlightening experience, because you get there and you meet people from different walks of life, from countries that I'd never even heard of before. And you're living with them for almost a month and learning their culture and tradition, languages, and you definitely live there with a brotherhood, because today I still communicate with a lot of them across the world, and they keep telling me, oh, whenever you're in our country, just let me know. And it was really fun.
So let's come to Big Brother, which is sometimes, we've had you guys, a couple of the Big Brother people come here, and we ask them a series of questions about what the experience is like in the house, because it feels like those of us who are watching, we don't get to know exactly what is happening. So maybe in the next 1 minute, you could walk us through some of the challenges you faced. And when were you evicted again?
8th week.
The 8th week. Yeah. How many weeks is it again?
10 weeks.
10 weeks. So you came quite close. Why do you think you didn't make it to the finals? The top 6, Abby? Yeah.
It was a tough year. It was a tough year. I think arguably the biggest Big Brother Nigeria ever, 2020 lockdown edition.
Oh, it was a lockdown edition.
Yeah, lockdown edition.
Because everybody was at home watching.
Yeah. Nothing can prepare you for the house. No matter how much you're being told, you're being lectured, nothing can prepare you. The moment you walk into that door, it's an isolated space, a world of its own. You can hear anything outside. You can see anything outside. There's no TV, no phones, no clocks, nothing. You have to deal with the people who are beside you. And these are people from different walks of life. You've never met them before. Different backgrounds, different training, upbringing, and all, and you have to tolerate and live with them. And there are games that will be played. People are trying to get at you. People are trying to, you know, bring you down because they're playing their game as well. So you have to reach deep down into yourself to try as much as possible to be the best version of yourself ever, you know. And no matter how much we try to explain to people who have been into the house, you can never catch a glimpse of it until you are in there. I've had conversation with people who told me, oh, I want to go into the house, and when they eventually make it into the house and they come out, they're like, wow. It's an overwhelming experience.
Absolutely. You know, a lot of people, it's just like football sometimes. You're watching from home, you know all of the things. You're like, no, you shouldn't have played. You see all the spaces where the passes should go to, but when you get on the pitch, even if it's 4 asides, you know how tough it is. So absolutely, and I like the insight you're giving into all of that. We have a tradition, which you always do on the show, but I'd like to ask you first, do you want to brave our trivia? So we have a few questions we'll ask you. Current affairs. So it's optional.
Okay.
You can either choose to or not. So, simple questions, current affairs.
And the whole idea is basically just to get young people to get involved in talks about governance. We can't isolate ourselves.
Yep.
Because now our references are young and high vibe and hip. A few years down the line, you begin to see, okay, I want to know what's going on around.
You begin to watch the news. Yes. You know, when our parents used to watch the news.
Working familiarity is necessary.
Okay.
So, do you want to?
I'll give it a try.
You give it a try?
Yeah.
I love that.
That's great.
Beautiful. So, first question. Who's the Senate President of Nigeria?
The Senate President is, Femi Bajala is the House of Rep. Senate President, or was?
Yeah, was, yes. Now Chief of Staff.
Okay, now Chief of Staff. The Senate President is the...
I'll give you options.
Okay, give me options. I know him.
Yeah, you know him. I
know.
So option 1, Ahmed Lawan. Option 2, Godfrey Fabio. Fantastic. Put yours together for the friends. Lovely. So this one is quite tricky.
Okay.
How many political parties do we have in Nigeria as at today?
As at today?
It's a bit tricky, really, because I'm not going to give you the reason why it's tricky, but I'll give you the options.
Okay.
20, 19, or 18. Now, it was one figure during the election, but then one party has since been added because of some issues. So 20, 19, or 18?
I think it's 19.
Put your hands together.
Yes. I know there was a time it was cut down. No, it was not a guess. I know there was a time that it was cut down, and then I had some friends who was in YPP.
Right.
I think it was a young guy who was in YPP, and I also had like a group of people that I was trying to mobilize during the election. So
the Youth Party has since been added, and it's brilliant to know that you're also into hair. And the beauty is you're also looking to help men with hair issues. I've seen that. So your salon also caters to men, which we know is a big issue, really. And this is you right there. Given a haircut, man, what can't you do?
We try.
You try our best.
Yeah.
Man. So beautiful. There you see, Prince rather given a haircut, in fact, transforming this essentially. How much of an issue is this for men?
You'll be shocked, to be honest. When I started this, the number of people that had reaching out to me to find out how they could get it done, you would understand that a lot of men are very insecure about the way their hair is.
Oh, really?
Really?
A lot.
So
old
it's
people,
not just a woman's thing.
Nah, it's not. Old people.
Some of us have embraced it now.
You know, even the people that have embraced it.
We've embraced it.
When they reach out, they'll be like, is it permanent? Is this something I can do and it will last? You get we've not gotten the permanent one here because we're still trying to get license for that because it requires medical license for that. But that one that we're doing is it's temporary. They're the ones that last for 1 week.
But then you can always maintain.
Yeah, we can always. There's one that lasts 2 weeks or a month, and there's one that lasts for like several months, like 4-5 months.
And you're the plug.
Yeah.
The guy is the plug.
I love the multifaceted.
Yeah, a lot of inspiration coming from you, Prince Nelson Enwerem, a fashion icon, model, actor,
reality TV star.
Winner of our trivia.
So far.
Thank you. 2 questions is smashed.
Thank you so much for being on the program. We look forward to seeing you, and we hope that you get that license.
All right. Thank you very much.
So that you expand your business. So that's it on the show today. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. We'll be back again tomorrow and indeed throughout the week to bring you your perfect day starter, the morning brief on Channels Television. And from the team, thank you so much for watching. I am Bukola Koka.
I'm Jeffrey Ozoma. Ghana, South Africa, Cameroon. Well, we're watching, we're coming.
Absolutely. Don't forget, we're all Nigerians. Let's keep putting our nation out there. Do what we can to make this nation the great nation that it truly is. God bless Nigeria. Goodbye.
Bye.